Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The storm had passed, but the beach still looked like a battlefield. Broken shells, twisted branches, and forgotten memories scattered across the sand. Mira knelt near the shoreline, her fingers brushing against something cold and metallic. It was a man's watch, half buried in wet sand, still ticking faintly beneath the golden sunlight. The inscription on the back caught her eye to EV. For every tomorrow. She wiped away the grit, listening to the fragile beat of time that had somehow survived the hurricane. Mira glanced toward the ocean, the waves calm now, as if pretending nothing had ever happened. She did not know then that this small piece of metal would lead her into a life she had never imagined. 2 days later, in a luxury villa overlooking the same coast, Elias Varon sat alone, staring at the headlines on his phone. Varon's scandal-broken engagement costs millions. The words were cold, brutal, factual. For the public, he was the arrogant billionaire who had humiliated his fiancée. For him, it was all a calculated move to protect his company from a corrupt merger. He leaned back, loosening his tie, the storm outside his glass wall mirroring the one inside his chest. When his assistant mentioned that a local woman had found something of his, he almost ignored it until she said, "It was your mother's watch, sir." That sentence cut through him like lightning. Later that afternoon, when Mira walked into the marble lobby, clutching the small watch wrapped in a handkerchief, she felt completely out of place. Her sandals left tiny prints on the polished floor. Her sunburned skin and simple dress stood in sharp contrast to the suits and security guards around her. A tall man turned from the window. His suit was gray, perfectly tailored, but his eyes looked tired, the kind of tired money could not fix. "You found this?" he asked, voice steady but low. Mira nodded and offered the watch. It was in the sand, after the storm. Still working. He took it gently, his thumb tracing the engraving. "You have no idea how important this is." "I just thought you should have it back," she said, already stepping back toward the door. "Wait," he said. "Do you need work?" She froze, confused. "Excuse me?" Elias studied her wind-tangled hair, the calloused hands of someone who worked for a living. He exhaled slowly. "I need a wife. Not a real one. Just, for 6 months." Mira blinked, sure she had misheard. "A wife?" "A contract marriage," Elias said, each word deliberate. "I will pay you enough to rebuild whatever that storm destroyed. In return, you will stand beside me until my company regains its reputation." Mira stared at him, the sound of the ocean still echoing in her ears. It was insane. It was impossible. Yet when she looked down at the watch in his hand, still ticking after everything it had endured, she wondered if some storms existed only to lead two people to the same shore. "Why me?" she finally asked. Elias met her gaze. "Because you are the only one who found something worth saving." The clock on the wall ticked once. Mira swallowed hard, realizing that time hers, and everything in between had just started again. Mira could still hear the echo of the storm whenever she closed her eyes, the rush of wind, the crack of thunder, the feeling of everything fragile being tested. Now she was sitting across from Elias Varon at a marble table in his private office overlooking the sea. The horizon was calm, but the air between them was charged. The contract lay open in front of her, printed on thick ivory paper with elegant black lettering. 6 months. That was the term. Enough time for him to repair his public image and enough money for her to rebuild her village. She reread the clauses carefully. No emotional involvement. No interference in personal matters. Appear together at 5 official events. Maintain the illusion of a loving marriage. She lifted her eyes. Elias was watching her, expression unreadable. "You make it sound easy," she said quietly. He gave a faint smile. "It never is." His voice was calm, but there was something lonely behind it, something she could not name. With a steady breath, Mira signed. The pen slipped once when a gust of wind from the open balcony scattered a few pages, and Elias caught them before they flew away. Their hands brushed. For a second, the room felt smaller. "Welcome to the arrangement," he said, closing the folder. The next morning came with noise and transformation. Stylists filled her small apartment, bringing boxes of gowns, shoes, and makeup. A woman named Claire, Elias's personal assistant, guided everything like a commander. "You will need to look the part, Mrs. Varon," she said, not unkindly. Mira stood in front of the mirror as they pinned her hair and adjusted her dress. For the first time, she looked like someone else, a woman who belonged to a world of chandeliers and press cameras. Later that evening, Elias arrived to escort her to the first event, a charity dinner at the Royal Harbour Hotel. He wore a black tuxedo, precise, restrained, every movement controlled. "You clean up well," Mira said nervously, trying to lighten the mood. He glanced at her and almost smiled. "So do you." "Ready?" "As I will ever be." Flashlights exploded as they stepped out of the car. Reporters shouted questions, snapping photos. Elias placed his hand gently on her back, guiding her through the crowd. "Just smile," he murmured. Inside the ballroom, gold light poured over crystal tables, and the sound of violins floated in the air. Mira kept her chin high, her pulse racing. Every eye seemed to follow her. Elias introduced her as his wife with effortless confidence, shaking hands, giving polite nods. When one investor smirked and whispered, "So this is your miracle woman," Elias's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Mira spoke up. "Yes," she said with a smile that carried quiet steel. "A miracle, considering what the storm took from both of us." The man blinked, speechless. Elias's gaze flickered toward her, something like pride in his eyes. The night flowed easier after that. Between conversations and camera flashes, there were small glances, half smiles that neither intended but both noticed. At the end of the dinner, while guests toasted to success and the orchestra swelled, Mira caught her reflection in the glass wall, no longer the woman in the sand, but someone suspended between two worlds. As they left, Elias helped her into the car, his voice low. "You handled yourself well." She looked at him, half smiling. "For someone who is not supposed to care, you sound impressed." He paused, eyes on the road ahead. "Maybe I am." Outside, the night breeze carried the scent of salt and rain. Inside the car, silence stretched between them, not awkward but uncertain, like the calm between two storms, waiting to see which would come next. Days turned into weeks, and what began as a contract started to feel like a routine neither of them expected. Each morning, Mira accompanied Elias to business lunches or charity meetings, playing the part of the composed, elegant wife. Behind closed doors, their arrangement remained polite but distant. She occupied a guest room at his seaside villa, while he buried himself in work long after midnight. Yet sometimes, in the quiet hours between dusk and dawn, she would find him standing by the window, staring at the ocean as if searching for something he had lost long before she arrived. One evening, after another long gala, Mira slipped off her heels and wandered onto the terrace. The night air was cool, and the sea below shimmered with moonlight. She leaned on the railing, whispering to herself, still ticking after the storm. The phrase had stayed with her, the reminder that something fragile could survive destruction. She turned when she heard footsteps behind her. Elias approached, his tie undone, a glass of water in his hand. "You handled the press well tonight," he said quietly. "You make it look easy." She gave a tired smile. "It is not easy pretending to belong somewhere you never will." He hesitated, then joined her at the railing. "You belong there more than anyone else in that room. They just do not know it yet." His tone was gentle, almost protective. For a moment, they stood in silence, listening to the waves below. Mira glanced at him and asked, "Why did you really choose me?" "There are 100 women who would have done this without asking why." Elias looked away, his expression unreadable. "Because you did not ask for anything when you found that watch. You could have sold it or posted it online for money or fame. But you just returned it. That told me everything I needed to know." She studied him, her heart tightening in a way she did not expect. "So you hired me for honesty." I hired you for peace, he said softly. For a few months, I needed someone who was not playing a game. The wind brushed her hair across her face, and for a fleeting moment, their eyes met. The air shifted quiet, heavy, but not uncomfortable. The sound of the ocean filled the spaces between their words. Later that night, Mira could not sleep. She walked barefoot through the villa's hallway and stopped outside his study. The door was slightly open, the faint glow of a desk lamp spilling across the floor. Elias was asleep in the chair, papers scattered around him, his glasses still on. On the desk sat the watch she had found, its rhythmic tick filling the silence. She stepped closer, gently setting the glasses aside and covering him with a blanket from the sofa. As she did, she noticed a framed photograph tucked beneath a stack of documents, a young woman smiling beside him, both drenched in sunlight. The headline on the corner of a newspaper read, "Baron engagement ends abruptly." Mira felt a pinch of sympathy. Whatever people said about him, there was pain here, quiet and real. She looked at him one last time before whispering, "Maybe we are both just learning how to start again." When morning came, the sunlight spilled into the study, landing on the watch's glass face. Its second hand kept moving, steady and sure. Elias woke to find the blanket draped over his shoulders and smiled faintly, realizing she had been there. Outside, Mira was already walking along the shore, her dress fluttering in the breeze. Neither of them knew it yet, but something invisible had begun to shift. The line between duty and feeling was blurring, and what had started as a contract was slowly becoming something that no clause could contain. By the end of the second month, the rhythm of their false marriage had changed. It was no longer just appearances or obligation. Somewhere between the events, the dinners, and the quiet mornings when they accidentally shared coffee at the same counter, something fragile and real had begun to take root. Mira was sitting on the back steps of the villa one afternoon, repairing a fishing net she had brought from her village. The smell of salt clung to her hands, and the sun painted her skin in soft amber tones. Elias stepped out, jacket off, sleeves rolled to his elbows. "You still do that?" he asked, nodding toward the net. "It helps me think," she said without looking up. "When I fix something small, the world feels less broken." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I should try that." "You? Fixing something with your hands?" she teased, glancing up. "You might break more than you repair." He chuckled for the first time in weeks, a sound that caught her off guard. It was warm and unguarded. The kind of laugh that made her forget they were living in a lie. That night, a storm rolled in from the ocean. Rain drummed against the windows as thunder echoed in the distance. The electricity flickered once and went out, plunging the villa into darkness. Mira lit a candle in the living room, the flame trembling slightly. Elias joined her, his face half lit by the golden glow. "Looks like we have company," he said, gesturing toward the lightning outside. "You hate storms," she replied softly, remembering the way he tensed during the last one. "You noticed," he said. "It is hard not to." Silence settled again, but it was the kind that spoke more than words. The candlelight flickered between them, reflecting in his eyes. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "The contract?" "Everything," he said quietly. "The fame, the money, the choices that made people see me as something I am not." She looked at him closely and whispered, "Maybe you just need to remind them who you are." The thunder rumbled again, closer this time, and without thinking, she reached for his hand. He hesitated, then intertwined his fingers with hers. The candle burned lower, and the sound of the rain softened into a steady rhythm. For a long moment, they just sat there, two people pretending not to be afraid of what they were feeling. The next morning, sunlight returned, flooding the villa with gold. The storm had passed, but something unspoken remained. Over breakfast, Elias received a message from his board of directors about a charity event that weekend, a high-profile gala filled with journalists and investors. He needed to attend with his wife. He looked at Mira. "Are you ready for another performance?" She set down her coffee. "As ready as I can be." At the gala, beneath the grand chandeliers, Mira wore a silver gown that shimmered like waves under moonlight. Elias stood beside her, poised and distant, the perfect image of composure. Cameras flashed, voices murmured, and yet, for every glance he gave her, there was something softer than pretense. During the dinner, a well-known columnist approached them with a smirk. "Mr. Varon, rumor has it this marriage of yours is a little too perfect to be real." The air froze for a second. Mira felt the weight of 100 eyes. But before Elias could respond, she leaned forward and said calmly, "Perfect things do not survive storms." "We did." The reporter blinked, caught off guard. Elias turned toward her, eyes full of quiet gratitude. When the night ended, and they stepped outside under a sky washed clean by rain, he whispered, "You keep saving me, Mira." She smiled, her voice barely above a breath. "Maybe we are saving each other." And as the car drove away, the world outside sparkled with raindrops, each one catching the light like the seconds of a clock still ticking, still alive, long after the storm had passed. The following weeks carried a quiet shift neither of them dared to name. Mira and Elias continued to attend events, to smile for cameras, and to sign papers side by side, but behind the rehearsed gestures, something real began to pulse between them. One late afternoon, they returned from a press conference and found the villa empty and calm. Mira changed out of her gown and walked barefoot to the balcony overlooking the sea. The air was heavy with the scent of salt and wet earth. Elias joined her moments later, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. "You look like you were somewhere else," he said, offering her a cup. "Just thinking about home," she answered. "About the people still rebuilding." He nodded slowly. "Your village is part of the reason I started this new foundation. We will send supplies next week." She turned to him, surprised. "You did not have to do that." "I wanted to," he replied simply. "You remind me of what matters." For the first time, the distance between their worlds did not feel impossible. That evening, they ate together without assistance or schedules. The conversation flowed easily, laughter slipping through the cracks where silence used to live. When the rain started again, soft and steady, Elias reached for the old watch on the table, winding it carefully. "Still ticking," he murmured. "Like us," Mira said quietly. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, something neither contract nor circumstance could define. The next morning, a letter arrived addressed to Elias. He read it in silence, his expression tightening. "It is from the board," he said finally. "They want to meet in person. Someone has been leaking stories to the press about our marriage." Mira frowned. "Leaking what?" "That it was staged. That you were paid. That everything about us is a lie." The words stung even though she knew they were partially true. "What will you do?" she asked. "Face them," he said. "But it may get ugly." She hesitated. "Do you want me there?" Elias looked at her, conflicted. "If you come, they will tear you apart." She lifted her chin. "Then let them. I am not ashamed of what we built, fake or not." At the meeting the next day, the boardroom was cold and filled with tension. Cameras rolled as the directors questioned Elias about his fabricated marriage. One of them sneered, "Did you really think the public would not notice, Mr. Varon?" Before Elias could answer, Mira spoke up. "It began as a contract," she said, her voice steady. "But sometimes the truth grows out of lies. He may have hired me, but he never bought me." The room fell silent. Elias looked at her, something fierce and grateful in his eyes. When the press tried to corner her later outside the building, she turned to the microphones and said, "He lost everything once and still stood back up. If that makes him a liar, then maybe we need more lies like his." The crowd went quiet. The next day, social media erupted with divided opinions, but one photo went viral. Mira standing in front of flashing cameras, her hand on Elias's arm, defiant but calm. For the first time, people began to see him not as a scandal, but as a man who dared to rebuild. That night, back at the villa, Elias found Mira sitting by the window, the ocean dark beyond the glass. He stood behind her for a long moment before saying, "You did not have to protect me." "Yes, I did," she replied softly. "You were not the only one who had something to lose." He exhaled slowly. "They will come after you next." She turned to face him, her expression gentle but strong. "Let them. The storm has already passed." He smiled faintly, placing the watch in her hand. Then let us make sure it keeps ticking. Outside, the waves rolled against the shore, steady and endless, as if time itself was holding its breath for what would come next. The meteor storm lasted for days, but Mira did not hide. Every morning she walked along the beach as usual, her bare feet sinking into the cool sand, the ocean breeze brushing her hair back. Elias watched her from the balcony, half in awe, half in disbelief. The woman who had once been afraid to speak now faced the world without flinching. That strength drew him closer every day. One evening, as the sky turned gold, he found her sitting on the dunes, sketching the horizon in a small notebook. "You draw?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Only when I need to remember how something feels," she said. "When the storm hit my village, I drew the sea every night. It reminded me that it could be beautiful even when it destroyed everything." Elias looked toward the waves, his voice low. "I used to think success meant control. But the sea does not care how powerful you are. It humbles you." She glanced at him, smiling softly. "Maybe that is why I like it." The evening light framed them both in warmth, and for a long time, neither spoke. The silence between them had become familiar, almost comforting. A week later, Elias received another message, this time from his legal team. His former fiancée, the one whose broken engagement had started everything, was threatening to publish private letters unless he paid her off. Mira overheard the conversation and saw the look in his eyes, a mix of exhaustion and disappointment. "Do not give her what she wants," Mira said. "Let her tell the truth if she must. You do not owe anyone your silence anymore." He looked at her, unsure. "It could destroy what little we rebuilt." She stepped closer, her voice calm but firm. "Then let it. Real things survive storms." That night, he took her advice. When the news broke, the world finally saw the truth behind the scandal that Elias had walked away from a fraudulent merger that would have cost thousands their jobs. Public opinion shifted almost overnight. Investors returned, and the same media that had mocked him now called him the man who rebuilt with integrity. But the victory came with a price. His contract with Mira was nearing its end. 6 months were almost over. One quiet morning, she found him standing on the balcony, the sunrise painting gold across his face. "It is almost time," she said softly. He nodded, unable to meet her eyes. "You will go back to your village. And you will go back to your empire," she replied. He turned then, his gaze searching hers. "Mira, what if I do not want to go back?" Her heart skipped. "That was not part of the contract." "Neither was falling for you," he said, the words heavy with truth. For a moment, neither breathed. The air between them shimmered with everything unsaid. She stepped back, unsure if it was real or just the echo of gratitude in shared storms. "Do not say that unless you mean it," she whispered. "I do," he said simply. "But I will not ask you for anything you do not want to give." He walked past her, leaving her alone with the sound of the waves and the tick of the watch she still carried in her pocket. That night, she stared at it under the dim light of her room. The second hand moved steadily, refusing to stop. Somewhere deep inside, she realized the truth: she had come to save her village, but in the process, she had saved a man from himself. When she closed her eyes, she could still hear his voice, the steady rhythm of the sea, and the quiet promise in his words. Morning would come soon, and with it, choices neither of them could delay any longer. The watch kept ticking, counting down to the moment when pretending would no longer be enough. The final week of the contract arrived with a weight neither of them wanted to acknowledge. The villa felt quieter than usual, every sound amplified: the waves against the rocks, the soft ticking of the watch on Mira's bedside table, the distant echo of footsteps that always seemed to stop before reaching her door. Elias had been working late, avoiding the inevitable conversation, while Mira spent more time by the shore, sketching the sea and pretending not to count the days. On the morning of the 6th month's last day, Elias received a call that would shatter the fragile calm. His company's headquarters had been hacked, and private documents leaked: emails, contracts, and among them, a scanned copy of his marriage agreement with Mira. The story spread in minutes. Headlines blared, "The fake wife scandal," and reporters swarmed the villa gates. Elias stormed into the living room, his face pale. "It is all over the news," he said. "They found the contract." Mira's heart sank. You think I know, he cut in quickly, I know you would never. But someone close to us did. He paced the room, frustration heavy in his movements. They will destroy you too, he said. The world loves to tear down whoever stands beside me. Mira took a slow breath. Then let them. I have nothing to hide. But it was not that simple. Within hours, sponsors pulled out, investors demanded explanations, and social media filled with photos of their wedding papers. Commentators called her a liar, a gold digger, a con artist. The same crowd that had once praised her kindness now spit her name like venom. When she walked out to face the reporters gathered at the gate, cameras flashed like lightning. Is it true? One shouted. Was it all an act? Mira looked straight into the lens. Yes, she said, her voice steady, it started as an arrangement. But storms have a way of changing what they touch. The man you call a fraud taught me what honesty looks like. And maybe that is something none of you will ever understand. Her words spread across the internet that night. Some mocked her. Some defended her. But in the silence that followed, Elias sat in his study, staring at the watch she had left on his desk. The second hand had stopped. For a long time, he did not move. Then he picked up the phone and made a single call to the board, to the press, to anyone who would listen. If you want to blame someone, he said, his voice low and firm, blame me. I wrote that contract. I paid her. And somewhere between the lies, I fell in love with her. That is the truth. His confession aired the next morning, and within hours, the narrative began to shift. The man once accused of manipulation had chosen to destroy his reputation to protect the woman everyone doubted. And somewhere across the coastline, Mira stood by the sea, the wind tangling her hair, unaware of what he had done. The storm they feared was finally here, and neither of them knew who would survive it. When the story broke about Elias's confession, the world reacted in shock. Some called it madness, others called it love, but everyone was talking about him. By taking the blame, he had dismantled the empire he had spent years building. Stock prices fell, business partners withdrew, and the man once untouchable now stood alone. Mira saw the headlines from the small community center in her village, where she had returned to help rebuild after the storm. Her hands trembled as she read his words, the same voice that had once spoken with precision and restraint now written with vulnerability and truth. She closed the laptop, her chest tightening. He had done it to protect her. That night, she sat on the shore, the sound of the waves blending with the whisper of wind. A soft voice behind her said, "Still watching the sea?" She turned and froze. Elias stood a few feet away, exhausted but smiling faintly. His suit was wrinkled, his hair windswept, but his eyes were steady. "You should not be here," she said, rising quickly. "You lost everything." "Not everything," he said. "I still have time. And maybe, if you let me, I still have you." She stared at him, speechless. "Why would you throw it all away?" He took a slow breath. "Because none of it meant anything without honesty. You showed me that. You said real things survive storms. I wanted to prove you were right." Mira felt tears burn at the corners of her eyes. "You cannot build a future on guilt." "Then let us build it on truth," he replied softly. "You told the world who I was when I could not. Now let me tell them who you are." He opened a folder in his hand. Inside were new documents, not a contract, but the official papers for the Mira Foundation, fully funded and in her name. "This is for your village," he said. "It is everything we talked about. It belongs to you now." She looked down at the papers, unable to speak. "Why are you giving me this?" He smiled faintly. "Because you gave me my life back. And maybe it is time I gave you yours." The wind picked up, carrying the scent of salt and rain, and for a moment they just stood there, two people who had been strangers, now bound by everything they had endured. "Elias," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You did not have to come." "I know," he said. "But I wanted to see if the watch still ticks." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the same watch she had once found in the sand. It was repaired now, polished, the glass shining under the moonlight. He placed it in her hand. "It stopped when you left," he said. Maybe you should start it again. Mira wound the crown carefully, and the second hand began to move once more, steady and strong. They both watched it, neither saying a word, because they understood what it meant. After everything, lies, storms, and broken promises, time was still running, and so were they. Weeks passed, and the headlines slowly faded. People moved on to other stories, other scandals, but for Mira and Elias, the silence that followed was the beginning of something new. The Mira Foundation opened quietly in the village, rebuilding homes, schools, and the small sea rescue center that had once been destroyed. Children ran barefoot along the shore again, and laughter returned to a place that had known too much loss. Elias worked beside her every day, not as a billionaire or a public figure, but as a man learning how to live without the armor of pride. One morning, as the sun climbed over the horizon, he found Mira standing on the pier, the repaired watch glinting on her wrist. "It suits you," he said, his voice soft. She smiled. "It belongs to both of us. It survived everything, remember?" He stepped closer. "So did we." The air smelled of salt and new beginnings. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "I once gave you a contract," he said, opening it to reveal a simple silver ring. "This time, I am offering a promise. No signatures, no clauses, just one truth: I do not want a life that does not have you in it." Mira looked at him, her eyes shining. "You sure you can handle another storm?" He smiled. "If you are beside me, I will not care how rough it gets." She laughed softly, tears glistening in the corners of her eyes, and nodded. "Then yes." When he slid the ring onto her finger, the ocean breeze rose, carrying the sound of distant waves breaking against the rocks. It felt like the world itself was exhaling. Months later, they held a small wedding on the same beach where the watch had once been found. No reporters, no board members, no cameras, just a handful of friends, the villagers, and the sound of the tide. As they exchanged vows, the sea shimmered like glass beneath the morning sun. Mira glanced at the watch on her wrist, its second hand moving in perfect rhythm with her heartbeat. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Elias leaned in and whispered, "Still ticking after the storm." She smiled, her voice barely above a breath. "Always." The crowd cheered, and the sound of joy rippled across the water. For the first time, their story was not about contracts or redemption or proving anything to the world. It was about finding something real in the wreckage. The camera of time pulled back, revealing the beach where it had all begun: the sand, the sea, and two people who had once been strangers now walking side by side toward whatever storms and sunrises waited ahead. Because sometimes, the things that survive the storm are not what we expect. Sometimes, it is the people who choose to start again.
Ethan had cancelled his travel plans and spent more time at home, claiming it was to manage the growing media attention, but Lila knew better. He lingered near the kitchen when she made coffee, joined her walks in the garden, and sometimes even laughed at her dry humor. The house, once quiet as a museum, began to feel alive again. One night, they sat on the terrace overlooking the river, the city lights reflected in the water like scattered fireflies. Lila told him about her mother's illness, how she had worked 3 jobs to pay for medication that was still not enough. Ethan listened in silence, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he said softly, "I can help." She shook her head. "That is not why I am here." "I know," he said. "But I want to." For a moment she saw something vulnerable in his eyes, a kind of sincerity that no money could buy. "Thank you," she whispered, "but this is something I have to carry myself." He nodded, respecting the boundary she had drawn, and the quiet between them turned warm instead of cold. Later that night, unable to sleep, Lila wandered into the study. Ethan was there, reading an old book with his tie undone and glasses perched on his nose. She paused in the doorway. "I did not know you wore glasses," she said. He looked up and smiled faintly. "Only when I forget to sleep." She walked closer, hesitating. "You should rest. You look tired." "So do you," he replied, setting the book aside. "But you look beautiful when you are tired." The words slipped out before he could stop them. They both froze, surprised. Then, slowly, the tension broke. She laughed softly. That line would never work in real life. It just did, he said quietly. Their eyes met, and for the first time, there was no contract between them, only two people who had both been alone for too long. Before either of them could speak, a distant sound shattered the stillness. Ethan's phone buzzed with urgent messages. He frowned, scrolling through the screen. "What is it?" Lila asked. "An emergency board meeting," he muttered. "Someone leaked our contract to the press." Her blood ran cold. "Leaked? How?" "I do not know," he said, already reaching for his jacket. "But this could destroy everything." Within hours, headlines spread across every platform. Ethan Cole's marriage a hoax, business deal or love scam, the truth behind Mrs. Cole. Paparazzi crowded the gates, and reporters demanded answers. By morning, the company's stock began to fall. Lila sat in the living room, numb, as Ethan faced a dozen phone calls from furious board members. Finally, he turned to her, his voice heavy. "They think you are the one who sold the story." Her eyes widened. "What?" "Ethan, I would never." "I know," he interrupted. "But they need a scapegoat, and you are the easiest target." "Then tell them the truth," she pleaded. "Tell them you made the deal." He shook his head. "If I do, the company collapses. Thousands of jobs would go." "So you would rather let them destroy me," she whispered, her voice breaking. Ethan took a step forward, then stopped, torn between duty and something deeper. "Lila, please, trust me. I will fix this." "You cannot fix a lie with another lie," she said quietly, tears glistening in her eyes. Without another word, she took off the ring and placed it on the table. "I think our contract just expired." She turned toward the door, her heart pounding, and this time when he whispered, "Do not go," she did not look back. User Viet Fan 7 Bam Sat Tai Lu, Content Mao 4.txt 600 Token. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 6, No Dong Not Nan Vat Va Bio I Can, Twin Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. CHY Van Phong KY Thuet Viet Tra Lai Ket Qua De Lam Noi Dung YouTube Chu Kong Phi Bien Tap Nu Dao Dien. Noi Dung Kong Doc Viet Tat Kak Tu Ma Phi Viet Day Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Doc Ni Dung Ding Twin Thun A with Circumflex M Ton Viet Ton 1 Don Kong Song Dong Va De Noi Dung Trong Cap Down Goak Vong. Vi Du Noi Dung Twin Thun A with Circumflex M Ton. Kong Tra RA Code, JSON, .NET, PGSQL. TTC Vit Bang Ting ANH Assistant Lila left the Cole mansion before sunrise. The city was still half asleep, wrapped in fog, as her cab rolled past the gates. She did not look back. The cameras were gone now, replaced by silence and shame. Her phone buzzed endlessly, reporters, gossip pages, unknown numbers, but she ignored them all. She rented a small room in an old brick building downtown, the kind of place where no one cared who you were as long as you paid on time. Days blurred into nights as she tried to disappear. Every headline she avoided only seemed to find her again. Gold digger. Actress. Scam wife. Each word chipped away at her until even her reflection looked like a stranger. Meanwhile, Ethan fought his own war. The board demanded his resignation, shareholders pulled out, and his ex-fiancée, Claire, smiled through every televised interview, feigning sympathy while fueling the fire. He should have known better, she told reporters. Love cannot be bought. The words burned through him more than the loss of money ever could. One evening, Laura, his assistant, placed a file on his desk. "You should see this," she said quietly. Inside were email logs, financial transfers, and a signed contract proof that Claire had been the one who leaked the story. Ethan stared at the evidence, a cold rage settling over him. "Get the legal team," he said. "No," Laura interrupted. "Get her first." That night, he confronted Claire at a rooftop bar overlooking the same skyline where his story with Lila had begun. "You wanted revenge," he said. "Now you have it." Claire sipped her drink, unbothered. "You made it easy." You were too busy pretending to be human. You ruined someone who never deserved it, he said sharply. You do not get to talk about humanity. She smiled. And yet you still came. Ethan turned and left without another word. Back in his car, he scrolled through old photos of Lila, the gala, the piano, the river terrace. Every image carried the same truth: she had given him more honesty in 3 months than anyone had in his entire life. He picked up the phone and made a single call. Find her, he said. No press, no headlines. Just find her. 2 days later, he stood outside the laundromat building where she now lived. Through the window, he saw her sitting by the counter, sketching quietly, her hair tied back, the same calm determination in her face. She looked up, startled, as he entered. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said, softly, I found the real leak. It was her. Lila blinked, disbelief flickering in her eyes. It does not matter anymore, she said. It was always going to end like this. Not like this, Ethan said. Not with you thinking you were just a mistake. He took a hesitant step closer. I told you I would fix it. Let me keep that promise. She looked at him, exhausted but still kind. You cannot undo what they said about me. Maybe not, he admitted. But I can tell them who you really are. Outside, the morning light spilled through the glass, painting their faces gold. For the first time since everything fell apart, she did not look away. User viet fan 8 bam sat tai lu, content mao 4.txt 600 token. Kong viet tren canvas. Teep noi fan 7, no dong not nan vat vabio I can, twinoi john sa chofu hop. Chy van fong ky thut viet tra liket qua de lam noi dung YouTube chu kong phi bien tap nu dao dien. Noi dung kong doc viet tat kak tu ma phi viet day du de voiceover ai doc tot doc dot ni dung ding twin thun a with circumflex m ton viet ton 1 don kong song dong va de noi dung trong cap down goak vong. Vi du noi dung twin thun a with circumflex m ton. Kong tra ra code, JSON, net, PGSQL. TTC Vit Bang Ting ANH assistant. 2 days later, the world watched as Ethan Cole stepped onto the stage of coal industry's annual shareholders meeting. Cameras flashed from every corner, but this time he did not hide behind numbers or strategy. He stood in front of the microphone, the city's skyline gleaming through the glass wall behind him, and took a deep breath. Before we begin, he said, his voice steady, there is something I need to make right. The room fell silent. Months ago, I made a decision that I thought was business. I asked someone to enter my life through a contract, not realizing that she would end up changing everything I believed about trust, kindness, and love. Her name is Lila Tran. A murmur rippled through the audience. Ethan continued, the rumors were true. The marriage began as an arrangement. But what you have read since then, every lie, every accusation was orchestrated by someone who wanted to destroy what they could not have. The real betrayal came from within this company. He turned the screen behind him, revealing documents, financial statements, leaked communications, and a signed confession from Claire. Gasps echoed across the hall. Effective immediately, Ethan said, Claire Myers has been removed from all executive positions, and I have resigned from my own role as CEO. I will not let this company become another machine that trades people for profit. The board will appoint a new leader, someone who values people over power. He stepped away from the podium to stunned silence, cameras capturing every second. The press called it the boldest resignation in corporate history. But for Ethan, it was simply the first honest thing he had done in years. That afternoon, he appeared outside a small community art center downtown. Inside, an exhibition banner hung from the ceiling, The Art of Truth, a collection by Lila Tran. His heart pounded as he walked through the doors. The walls were filled with photographs, candid, human, imperfect. In the center stood a single framed image, a man and woman on a rainy balcony, his hand reaching for hers. The title read, Before He Knew My Name. Lila turned when she saw him, surprise and disbelief flashing across her face. What are you doing here? She asked quietly. Ethan smiled faintly. Keeping my promise. He gestured toward the photo. You made the world see me better than I ever did. Now it is my turn. He pulled a small envelope from his coat and handed it to her. Inside was a check made out to the art center under her name enough to fund it for years. You do not have to do this, she said. I know, he replied. But I want to. It is not repayment. It is respect. For a moment, they stood there, surrounded by her work, the air thick with unspoken things. Then, softly, he said, You once asked me why I chose you. I think I finally know. Because you were never pretending. Lila felt her throat tighten, tears forming at the edges of her eyes. What happens now? She whispered. Ethan smiled gently. Now, we start without contracts. User viet fan 9 ket tuk bam sat tai lu, content mao 4.txt 600 token. Kong viet tren canvas. Tip noi fan 8, no dong not nan vat va boi can, twinoi john sa cho fu hop. Chy van fong ky thuit viet tra lai ket qua de lam noi dung YouTube chu kong 5 yen tap nu dao dien. Noi dung kong doc viet tat kak tu ma 5 viet day du de voiceover ai doc tot doc dot ni dung ding chuen thun a with circumflex m ton viet ton 1 dung kong song dung va de noi dung trong cap down goak vong. Vi du noi dung chuen thun a with circumflex m ton. Kong tra ra code, JSON, net, PGSQL. TTC vit bang ting anh assistant. A year later, spring returned to New York with the same soft rain that had once brought them together. The Cole mansion had long been sold, the company had a new name, and Ethan had traded boardrooms for quiet mornings at a riverside apartment filled with art instead of contracts. Lila's exhibition had grown into a movement, her name now associated with truth, resilience, and the kind of honesty that could heal. On the anniversary of her first gallery opening, she prepared a new collection titled Do Not Go, a tribute to moments that refuse to fade. The crowd filled the hall, but she kept glancing at the door, unsure if he would come. She had not seen Ethan in months. He had disappeared after resigning, sending only a short message that said, Find your light, I will find mine. As the lights dimmed and the guests applauded, a familiar voice came from behind her. You always did prefer the quiet part of the room. She turned, her breath catching. Ethan stood there, older somehow, but calmer, his eyes carrying the same warmth she remembered from that night on the terrace. You made it, she said softly. I would not miss this, he replied. I heard your work is changing lives. She smiled. Not as much as you changed mine. They walked together through the gallery, stopping before one final piece, a simple photograph of two hands reaching across a table, one holding a folded contract, the other offering a sketchbook. The caption beneath read, When the deal ended, the story began. Ethan looked at her, emotion rising behind his calm. You know, I kept something, he said quietly. From his jacket, he pulled a small velvet box. Inside was the same diamond ring, the one that had once symbolized pretense. It started as a contract, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. But this time, there are no terms. Just a question. He knelt, not out of formality but because it felt right. Lila Tran, will you marry me for real this time? The room fell silent around them, the hum of life outside fading until only the sound of her heartbeat remained. Lila's eyes glistened with tears, her smile trembling as she whispered, yes. Applause erupted from the guests, but neither of them heard it. He stood, she fell into his arms, and for the first time, the words do not go were no longer a plea, they were a promise. Later that night, after the crowd had gone and the lights dimmed, they stood by the window watching the city glow below. Ethan took her hand and said softly, I used to think success was about control. You taught me it is about surrender. Lila leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. And you taught me that love is not something you sign for, it is something you fight for. Outside, the rain began to fall again, washing the glass in silver streaks, just like the night they met. Only this time, they did not run from it. They let it fall, together. User Kim Tra Lai Zem Ton Bo Noi Dung Qua 9 Fan Ko Tin Dong Not Va Lien Ket Mok Trian Trong Kung Mot Ka Trian Kong? Ko Elnb Chua? Ko Noi Dung Han Dong Now Bat Hop Ly Phi Tuk Ti Kong? Kim Tra Lai Zem De Dung Gu Fap Tiang On Cho Nuoi My Doc Zem Chua? Assistant Rat Tot Toi De Tien Han Doc Sot Ton Bo 9 Fan Qua Ka Trian, he whispered, don't go, before he even knew her name. Theo Cactu Chi Kim Din Trian Angip V Tin Dong Not Va Mok Trian Story Continuity ELNB Emotional Logic and Narrative Believability Tin Hop Ly Han Dong Realism Check Chuan Gu Fap Va Fong Catch Tiang On My American English Grammar Tone Dui De La Ban Dan Jia Chi Teet. 1 TNH Dong Ent Lin KT Mike Truan Tone Bo 9 Fan Van Han Mok Trian Thong Not. Lean Mok Va Logic Boy Can New York City 2 Dem Mua Ban Dao Rooftop Hotel Mansion Van Song Hudson Art Gallery Downtown Quay Lai Mua Swan Koi Kung. Nan Vat Ethan Cole CEO Millionaire Va Lila Tran Freelance Artist Photographer Sut Hien Not Chuan Shuyan Sut, Kong Thay Doi Ten, Nay, Hey Tin Catch. Twin Noi John Tien Trian Twen Tin Ro Rong 1. Gap Din Men Ban Song Mua 2. Kai Hop Dong 3. Chien Den Mansion 4. Gala Thursday Thatch 5. Moi Quan He Fat Trian 6. Ran Nut Scandal Leak 7. XA Catch Du Tra Su That 8. Song Kai Chuok Loi 9. Ket Tu Con Fuck Va Ket Han That Kong Ko Mouth Wan Timeline, Kong Ko, Jump Cut Hey Tin Teet Bo Quain. Suzut Hien Qua Kak Dao Siu Ring, Contract, Rain, Piano, Photograph Du Plant Payoff Dong Chuan Cinematic Storytelling. 2 ELNB Emotional Logic Narrative Believability Tat Ca Han 6, Loi Thoi, Va Trian Bien Cam Suk Du Sut Fat Tu Trang Tai Tom Ly Hop Ly Ethan 2 MOTCO Lan Lung, Du Keen Bang Ly Tri Hop Catch Song That, You That Arc Fat Trian Ko Chiu Sao. Lila Tu Nu Wei Chiu Tun Thuong Von Geo Ko Duok Thursday Thatch, Roy Tu Dong Len Dat Tu Du Va Tin You That. Moi Kung Hong Gala, Leak, Chia Te, Confession Du Hop Ly Va Bam Theo Logic Cam Suk. Kong, Drama Vo Ko. Kak Ko and Kok Trian Bien, Do Not Go, You Are Not a Lie, Find Your Light, Du Ko Tin Nan Ban, Dong Tin Than Redemptive Romance, ELNB Day Du Mok Cam Suk Logic Chow Treo Dong Cho, Ha Cam Suk Dong Luke, 3 TNHHPL Hainang Realism Check Kong Ko Chi Teet Phi Tuk Ti Hoke, Soap Opera, Ku, Fake Marriage, Duok Thiat Lap Ro Rang Bang Hop Dong 3 Thing, Hop Ly Trong Gukin Kin Don. Scandal Leak Va Hao Qua Trian Thung Hon Ton Ko That Trong Doi Song Co Mai Han Dong Resign Publicly Va Open Art Gallery Mang Tin Bu Tuong and Hung Van Hop Ly Trong Xa Hoi Hien Dai. Kong Ko Han 6 Bao Luke, Siu Nien, Hoke 6 Pham Dao Duk, Ket Tu Koi That Sao 1 Nam Loi John Hop Ly De Nen Vat Truong Ton. Han Dong Tuk Ti, Ko Cam Suk and Hong Kong Phi Ly. For NG Fate Va with Grave Fong Chi Ting Anhm Toi Kim Tra Ton Bo 9 Fan Gu Fap Kong Loi Tense, Article, Hey Ka Ro Mare. Zhong Van Hon Ton American English Su Dong Don 6 Du Luong, Chin Ta Color, Honor, Nip Van Tunin Cho Voiceover. Ka Truck Ka Zen Nip Dane Gan Hop Ly 1020 To Cow, De Doc Cho AI Voiceover, Kong Viet Tat UR, Do Not, Cannot. Ngudu Cinematic and Hung Gon Gui, Jiao Cam Suk. Dong Ton Kutrian Romantic Drama for American Audience. Dapung Chuan Native Level Readability, Ko The Thursday Voiceover Truck Teep Ma Kong Can Bien Tap Them. KT Lun Kim Nh Hang Muc Dan Jia Ghi Chu Ka Truck Timeline Hon Chin, Kong Lo Hong Nan Vat Motif Dong Not Shuyan City LNB Logic Cam Suk Ro Rang, Ko Redemption Han Dong Tuk Ti Hop Ly, Kong Phi Tuk Ti Ng Fap Tiang On My Chuan Tuet Doi, Voiceover Ready Van Fong Cinematic Mute. Mu Hinan, Tunin Ket Luan Koi Ton Bo 9 Fan Qua, he whispered, don't go, before he even knew her name, Dat Chuan Hon Chin Cho Mot Cinematic Millionaire Romance Story. Katrian Ko Nip Cam Suk Tunin, Kong Mao Thuan, Kong Loin Gufab, Va Mang De Du To Plant Payoff Redemption Love Justice Dong Tin Than, Fake Real, Trong Tai Lu Gok Content Mao 4.txt. Nu Ban Muon, Tua Ko The Tao Ban Tong Hop Final Script Lean Mok Trian 29 Fan Ton Mot Dong Kuchuan Voiceover 40 Foot Ma Van Ju Nip Tho I Tu Nien Ban Ko Muon Tua Lam Byuk Du Kutip Kong? User Viet Cho Tua Mo Ta Chuan Seo Voi Ton Bo by Viet Vua Viet Tren Va Zat Hien Dung 5 Lon Tu Qua Chin Millionaire Stories, Trong Mo Ta. Kong Ko Gioi Thu De La 9 Fan. Van Teep Tuc Viet Bang Tiang On. Ni dung ding chuan thun a with circumflex m ton viet ton one don kong song dong va de noi dung trong cap down goak vong. Vi du noi dung chuan thun a with circumflex m ton. Kong tra ra code, JSON, .NET, PGSQL 27. Ni dung viet ton one don kong song dong va de noi dung trong cap down goak vong. Vi du noi dung tiu. Kong tra ra code, JSON, .NET, PGSQL. TTC Vit Bang Ting ANH assistant in this cinematic love drama set against the glittering skyline of New York City, a powerful CEO and a struggling artist are brought together by fate, lies, and redemption. What begins as a contract marriage slowly transforms into an unforgettable journey of truth and emotional healing. This story captures the very essence of millionaire stories where wealth meets vulnerability, and where human kindness outshines status. Through heartbreak, scandal, and forgiveness, it reminds us that even the richest hearts can feel empty until they learn to love without conditions. If you are drawn to romantic millionaire stories that explore integrity, trust, and redemption, this one will stay with you long after it ends. Experience the cinematic beauty of two souls discovering what real love means beyond luxury, beyond image, beyond control. For those who crave deeply emotional millionaire stories with timeless moral lessons, this narrative delivers a perfect balance of passion and purpose. It stands among the finest millionaire stories ever told, authentic, heartfelt, and transformative. User Twamuan Tao 12 Hin on Kio Nu Gioi Thu En Han Vi Noi Dung Tu De Chu De Kich Ban 9 Fan Qua Chung Ta De Viet. Hey Viet Cho Twa Outline V6 Can, Yu Ka On So 1 Va Tu La Mo Ta Kan Lin Quan Den Vi Dao Qua Tu Da, On So 3 Va For La Kan Gioi Thu Nu Chin Dang Lam Vik Trong Kuok Song Hung Gay, Can So 5 Va 6 La Kan Gioi Thu Nam Chin Dang Lam Vik Trong Kuok Song Hung Gay, On So 7 Va 8 Ko Su Sut Hien Chung Qua Tu Nuoi, On 910-1112 Con Lai Ban Tui Chan Fu Hop Theo Kich Ban. Lam Sa De 12 on Gep Lai Ton Chui Hin on Gioi Thu En Han Vi Tu De Nu Gioi Thu Bo Phim and Hong Kong Doak Lo Tsai Ket. On La Kin Quay Nu Phim, Kong Caption, Kong Tu Da. Hey Viet Outline Chi Ti Cho Tung Nan Vat. Assistant Rat Tot Ban Dang Yu Ka Outline 12 Can Cinematic De San Zut Ton Chui on Teaser Gioi Thu En Han Bo Phim, he whispered, don't go, before he even knew her name. Chui on Nai Si Jong Poster Storyboards Ko Tin Dian On, Thong Not Mood Tone, and Hong Kong Teet Lo Ket Tu, Dui De La Outline Chi Teet, Juk Designer Hoke AI Image Generator Dong Tung Kung Hin Chin Zak, Thong Not On Sang Kam Suk Fook Trang Kong John. 12-shot cinematic outline on 1 Rain on the Balcony, Opening Tension V Dao Tu De Boy Can Rooftop Bar New York Luke Dem, Mua Lan, On Den Vang Fan Chiu Kwa Kin. Nan Vat Ethan Cole Nam Chin, Mac Tuxedo, Dung Mot Min Nin Soang Ton Fo, Take Him Ly Whiskey. Mood Ko Doc, Lan, Introspective. Mua Roy Engying Tao On Sang Dian On. Ton Mao Zan Xam Lan, On Sang Vang Yu. Goyamo Su Ko Don Kwa Nuoi Dan Ong Truok Din Men. On 2 The Girl in the Rain V Sao Tu Da Before he even knew her name Boy Can Gok Doi Dien, Kung Rooftop Bar. Nan Vat Lila Tran, Trong Vei Bridesmaid Lavender Ratch, Take Him Bua Hoa Hio, Mascara Novi Mua, Mood Tun Thuong, Hong Mang, and Hung Van Ko On Nin Man Mi. On Sang On Den Neon Fan Chiu Kwa Mua, Hoi Moao. On Nai Va On 1 Tao Ton Cap, Meeting in the Rain, Din Men Bat Dao. On 3 Morning Reality Gioi Thu Nu Chin Trong Kuok Song Thuong Gay Boy Can Ho No Tren Tang 3 Kufo Siu, Sang Som, On Nong Chiu Kwa Rem. Nan Vat Lila Macau Somi Oversize, Tok Bui, Dang Rua Kovi, Kanban De Hoa Don. Mood Ben Di, Hoi Met Moi and Hung Nugi Luke, Chi Teet Dao Siu Sketchbook, Tach Safi Nuoi, To Hoa Don YTE. On 4 Life Between Jobs Nu Chin Trong The Gioi That Boy Can Studio On No, On Sang Den Roy, Vi Buk On Trang Den Trio Tuong. Nan Vat Lila Chup On Cho Kok, Net Mat Tap Trung and Hung Trong On Mat Ko Noi Buon. Ton Tong Naam Mang Kam Jiak Chon That, John D. High on 34 Kok Hoa, Her Real Life Before the Contract. On 5 The Corporate Cage Gioi Thu Nam Chin Boy Can Fong Hop Tang Chow, View Tone Manhattan, On Sanglan Tu Mon Hin LED. Nan Vat Ethan Cole, Vest Den, Dang Nin Bang Ko Phu, On Mat Tram Mac, Mood Song Tang, AP Luke, Gwyn Luke Va Ko Don. Chi Teet Dao Siu Logo, Coal Industries, Gi Trong Ben Can, Mon Hin Hien Ti Ko Fu Jiam. On 6, behind the image, Nam Chin Trong Koan Kok Ka Nan Boy Kan Penthouse V Dem, on Den Ton Fo Fin Chiu Kwa Kin. Nan Vat Ethan Goy Mot Min Truok K Piano Siu, Sa Vat Tau, Nin Soang Phim Dan Chuabam. Mood Vulnerable Goy Kem Jiak Trong Rong Ben Trong Nuoi Dan Ong Ton Dat. High on 56 the Hien, his world before meeting her. On 7, the contract proposal, Lon Cham Dao Din Men Boy Kan Kung Rooftop Dem Mua, Nan Vat Ethan Chia Te, Lila Nin Line Gak Nin. Ca Hayut Mua, on Sang City Glow Fan Chiu. Mood Drama Song and Hung Quan Hut. Dao Siu Cheek Nan Trong Taeon. On Icon Qua series, the Hien line, Marry Me. Think of it as a contract. On 8, the contract signed Jiao Kio Duok Zak Lap Boy Kan Chuan Cafe Sang Ham Sao, on Sang Vangam, Bon Go, Ji Hop Dong Va But Mai. Nan Vat Ethan Va Lilan Goi Doi Dien, Kong Cham Mat, and Hung Take On Cham Now Tren Bon. Mood Calm Tension Mot Koan Kok Quiet Din So Fan. Chi Teet Tach Sa Fi, Hop Dong Ghi 10 Ho Mo. On 9, Becoming Mrs. Cole, Transformation Montage Boy Kan Fong Thursday Du Sang Trong, Lila Dong Truoc Guang Trong Ve De Hoi, Stylist Sai Hoa Tai. Phia Sao Ethan Trong Vest, Nin Qua Guang, on Mat Fa Juat Song Vik Va Cam Suk, Mood Transformation Nui Ben Thuong Byuk Pheo The Gioi Thuong Lu. On 10, Under the Spotlight, Public Test Gala Night Boy Kan San Gala, on Den Flash Ruk Sang, Fong Vien Va Kok VIP Bao Quan. Nan Vat Lila Mim Koi Tu Tin Ben Ethan. On Anging Dao Nin Ko, Tu Hao. Mood Power Connection Hai Nui Dong Kung Now Jua The Gioi Jia Tao. On 11, The Distance, Falling Apart Boy Kan Fong Kok Mansion Dem Kuya, on Sanglan. Nan Vat Lila Dung Gon Qua, Take Him Valley, Con Ethan Dung Xa Phia Sao, Bong Du Dai. Mood Emotional Rupture Koang Catch That Jua Ho. On Sang On Vang Tu Den, Tuong Fan Voi Nin Zan Qua Dem Mua, on 12, The Art of Truth, Hint V Redemption in Hong Kong Spoil Ending Boy Kan Gallery Trong, Bui Sang Som, on Sang Trang Roi Qua Qua So. Nan Vat Lila Dung Jua Kung on Trio Tuong, Nin Buk Hin, Before He Knew My Name. Mood Hopeful Redemptive on Sang Chiu Len Guang Mat Ko. Ton Mao Train Bac Gold Nay, The Hien Closure Ma Kong Teet Lo Ket Cuc Tin Cam. Tong the Concept Mood Arc Rain Melancholy Gold Luxury Blue Distance White Healing. Visual Tone Cinematic Drama, on Sang Mem, Gok Quay Nu Phim My Hien Dai Netflix Style. Kong Teet Lo Ending and Hung Goi Aro Journey, Fake Real. Nan Vat Dong Not Ethan Co, Lan M Dan, Lila Artist, Udui Man Me. Ban Ko Muon Toi Viet Lo on Prompt Chi Ti Cho Tung on Ready Dong Cho AI Image Generator New Midjourney Hoke Dal Dua Tren Outline Nai Kong. Prompt Du Se Bam Dung Dian on My On Sang Tai Le Kung Hin Ton Mao. User Dao Tien Viet Cho Tua 1 Prompt De Tao on Nan Vat Nam Chin Mang Trang Phuc Phu Hop Theo Kich Ban, Kong Kan Noi 10 Nan Vat Trong Prompt, Kong Noi 2 Minor. Nan Vat Nai Duok Dan So Thursday 2 La 1 De Lam So Mak Din Cho Su Zat Hien Trong Kan Prompt Sao Nai. Tua Muon Kuan Mat Chuan Nui Mai Va on Sang Du Tren Ca Kuan Mat. Prompt Tao Hin Wan and Vat Phi Ko De Du Chi Teet Va Mo Ta 280 Den 102 Tiang Viet, Fong Catch Cinemar, Kong Koe I Kok Trong Kung Hin Nguai Nam Chin. Moi Prompt Viet Ton Wan Don Kong Soang Dong Va De Noi Dung Prompt Trong Cap Down Goak Vong. Vi Du 1, Noi Dung Prompt. Kong Tra Ra Code, JSON, Net, PGSQL, Luai Prompt Viet Bang Tiang Viet Assistant 1, Mot Nui Dan Ong Mai Koang Dao Bie Mui. Kuan Mat Gok Kan, on Mat Sao Va Ben Tin, Mac Vest Den Kat Mei Hon Hao Kung Ao So Mi Trang Mo Hai Nut Ko, Kong Daot Sa Vat. On Dong Trong Kung Hin Cinematic Voi on Sang Du Fu Tren Guang Mat, Fong Nin Mo La Kung Kwa Kin Nin Ra Ton Fo New York Bandem. On Sang Fan Chiu Tu Kak Toa Na Chow Tang Tao Du Sang Tu Nin, Lam Noi Bat Vi Lan Lung Va Diem Tin Quan. Fong Catch on Mang Tong Mao Dian on Hien Dai. Du Tuong Fan Mem, Saknet Va Sang Trong. User Dao Tien Viet Cho Tua 1 Prompt De Tao on Nan Vat Nu Chin Mang Trang Phuc Phu Hop Theo Kich Ban, Kong Kan Noi 10 Nan Vat Trong Prompt, Kong Noi 2 Minor. Nan Vat Nai Duok Dan So Thursday 2 La 2 De Lam So Mak Din Cho Su Zat Hien Trong Kan Prompt Sao Nai. Tua Muon Kuan Mat Chuan My Gok Va on Sang Du Tren Ca Kuan Mat. Prompt tau hin wan en vat phi ko de du chi tit va mo ta 280 den 102 tiang viet, fong catch cinemar, kong koe I kok trong kung hin nguai nu chin. Moi prompt viet ton wan don kong soang dong va de noi dung prompt trong cap down goak vong. Vi du 1, noi dung prompt. Kong tra ra code, JSON, net, PGSQL, luai prompt viet bang tiang viet assistant 2, mot funu mai koang koi hai muoi, kuan mat ton thot voi on mat dio and hung kien din, lon de sang tu nin, tok na dai hoi zon byong nain gang vi. Komak vei satin mao lavender not om dong tin ti, koak niguayao cardigan mong mao bi, fong catch john di ma na si. On sang mem va du chiu tren ton bo guang mat, tau huang map va chan tu, how can la kung kwa so voi on sang ban mai chiu kwa rem, kong kai nain hang, mang tong mao dian on am, goi kim jiak vo man mi. User OK, viet teep 1 prompt de tau nh thumbnail theo tu de qua noi dung. U ka viet prompt theo dung format prompt la de so Thursday 2 prompt va noi dung trong kung 1 cap down goak vong, sao du noi vo dao va viet so qua character zut hien trong can, 6 du trong prompt 1 ko su zut hien quan en vat nam ma o tren min viet prompt nan vat nam la so 1 ti trong prompt de so 1 phia sao va trong cap down goak vong, ko tu nan vat hey 3 hey 4. Viet prompt moi kan toi de 3 nan vat va toi thu 1 nan vat ti du de trong cap down goak vong cho min, 6 du 1, 3, 4. Vi du prompt dung chuan theo u ka kwa min nu sao 1, noi dung prompt 1, 3, 4. Viet ben thuang kong JSON, kong code, kong sui gi lao, kong PSSQL, kong hoi them, luai prompt viet bang tiang viet assistant 3, mot kan cinematic lay cam hung tu fim tin cam mai, boi kan la rooftop bar jua dem mua neo New York. On den vang va city light fan chiu tren mat nuok mua, nam chin mak vest den lich lam dang chia te vi fia nu chin, komak ve lavender yit mua, my talk roine, on mat vuan gaknin vua rung dong. On sang mem, fu du tren kuan mat ca hai, lam noi bat koan kok de cam suk jua ton fo ruk sang fia sao. Fong catch dian on chan tuk, sang trong, tuong fan vua phi, tong mao lan fa vang ne. 1. 2 User OK, viet teep 8 prompt de tau nh1 den 8 theo outline 9 fan kong de load psychet. U ka viet moi prompt theo dung format prompt la de so Thursday 2 prompt va noi dung trong kung 1 cap down goak vong, sao du noi vo dao va viet so qua character zut hien trong can, 6 du trong prompt 1 ko su zut hien quan en vat nam ma o tren min viet prompt nan vat nam la so 1 ti trong prompt de so 1 phia sao va trong cap down goak vong, ko tu nan vat hey 3 hey 4. Viet prompt moi kan toi de 3 nan vat va toi thu 1 nan vat ti du de trong cap down goak vong cho min, 6 du 1, 3, 4. Vi du prompt dung chuan theo u ka kwa min nu sao 1, noi dung prompt 1, 3, 4. Viet ben thuang kong JSON, kong code, kong sui gi lao, kong PSSQL, kong hoi them, luai prompt viet bang tiang viet, moi prompt viet at not 60 den 82 assistant 4, condemn tren rooftop bar New York, Troy mua roine, on sang neon fan chiu kwa mat noak, nam chin mak vest den yut mua, dung mot min nin soang ton fo, on mat trambuan fa chut ko don. Kong kai lan, hoi noak mo tau huang dian on. On sang du tren guang mat, lam noi bat then tai nuoi dan ong ton dat and hung mat. Tong mao zan xam va vang not hoa gwin, mang cam jiak u buon sang trong. 1-5, gok doi dian rooftop, nu chin trong vei bridesmaid mao lavender by mua lam yut, take him bua hoa are you? Ko dung duyon den vang uot, on mat hong mang zen chut ton thuong. Phia sao la skyline New York moao, and hung jiat mua fan chiu on sang nu fa lu. Kong kai vua lang man vua by thuong, fong catch cinematic, on sang fu du, goi kung kan din men. 2-6, sang hom sao, kan ho no kwa nu chin, on nong chiu kwa rem kwa, komak ao somi trang rong, ngoi ben bon de hoa don va kok safi nuoi, dang nin veo tam hin chup on dang du. On sang tu nin, na viam, fong nin la gia vi va and hung buck on trang den. Tong mao vang im fa bi, the hien kuok song ben di, ko dok and hung ko noi luke, 2-7, fong hop tang chow coal industries, on sang zan tu mon hin led fan chiu tren guang mat nam chin. On mak vest chin chu, dung mot min nin bang ko fu jiam, te dat trong toi quan. Kong john hien dai, lan leo, fong nin la kin ton kan ton fo. Tong mouth ep zan lam on bac tau kim jiak gwin luke ko lap, the hien suc nong qua nue lan dao. 1-8, Juan Cafe Bui Sang, On Sang Vang Am, Bon Go No Jua Kong Jan Yan Tin. Nam Chin Va Nu Chin Goi Doi Dien, Tren Bon La Ta Hop Dong Va But Mai. Ca Hai Tran Nin Now and Hung Koang Catch Te Rat Gon, On Sang Fu Du Lam Noi Bat Bu Cam Song Tang Ma Sao Lang. Tong Mao Am, Chi Tit Hoi Swang Tren Qua Kin Goi Kem Jiak Din Men Sap Doak Ky Ket. 1-9, Ben Trong Beat Thursday Ven Song, Fong Kok Rong, On Sang Mem Roy Tu Qua So Chow. Nu Chin Mac Dam Don John, Dong Jua Ken Fong, Nin Quan Voi Vi Boi Roy. Phia Xa La Ka Tang Zon Bango, Tuong Trung Cho The Gioim Wa Ko Vua Byuk Veo. Tong Mao Trang Bxambac, On Sang Tunin Fu Du, Goi Kem Jiak Xa Hoa Va Ko Dak Hoa Gwin. 2-10, Kandatik Gala Long Lay, On Den Vang Kim Fan Chiu Len San Bong Long. Nam Chin Mac Tuxedo Den, Nu Chin Trong Vei Bac On Kim, Ca Hai Byuk Song Bac Tang Jua Tiang Flash Mayon. On Sang Ruk Ro and Hung Kan Bang, Kuan Mat Hai Nui Ro Net, Then Tai Ben Tin, Goi Kem Jiak Jia Vio Hon How Truoct Song Chung. 1-11, Fong Tran Toi, On Sang Trang Roy Veo Buk On Trio Tuong. Nu Chin Dong Truoc Buk Hin, Before He Knew My Name, On Mat Sao Va Yen Tin, Guang Mat Sang Ro Trong On Den. Kong John Sung Quan Toi, Fong Nan La Tuong Bi Tong Tho Mo, Goi Kem Jiak Tim Lai Su That. Tong Mao Trang Bac, On Sang Kan Bang, Fong Catch Cinematic Hien Dai, Kong Tit Lo Ket Cuc, 2.